Number 10. Newbury Airplane Boneyard. In Newbury, Ohio, resident Walter Saplata hosted a collection of military aircrafts from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Though often called an airplane graveyard, Walter would have preferred the term sanctuary, as he was saving the aircrafts from being turned into scrap metal. The sanctuary featured approximately 20 stray aircrafts that Walter collected from his scrapyard job in Cleveland, junking thousands of warplane engines that were declared surplus, according to his son Wally Saplata in a November 2007 issue of Air and Space magazine. Walter used to open his property to the public, but in recent years, the aircraft boneyard has been kept private. He passed away in November 2010, and today it is unclear what remains of the aircraft graveyard. Number 9. Geauga Lake Amusement Park. What was once the world's largest theme park is now an overgrown land of decaying roller coasters, empty concession stands, and abandoned ticket booths. In 1925, the park cemented its place in amusement park history when the Big Dipper roller coaster was built. At the time, it was the largest roller coaster ever built, but soon tragedy struck. Following all of its success, the park experienced some setbacks. In 1942, the park was hit by a tornado, 6 people were injured, and the park experienced a lot of structural damages around $50,000. Further tragedy struck in 1952 when a massive fire engulfed parts of the park, destroying many key features of the park, including the famous dance hall, the theater, the roller rink, and the bowling alley, amounting to $500,000 in damages. From 2000 to 2004, the park was expanded and became Six Flags Ohio. From 2004 to 2007, it became known as Geauga Lake again under the ownership of Cedar Fair. But on September 21st, 2007, Cedar Fair announced that the park would not be reopening, and it has been abandoned ever since. Number 8. Cincinnati's abandoned subway. In the 20th century, Cincinnati decided to build a subway system after canals quickly became even more of a nuisance than they had been when they were bringing in trade. The plan was made in 1912 to build a 16-mile rapid transit rail system in a loop around the city, with a branch undergoing and heading downtown. More than 80% of the people of Cincinnati said yes to the new railway, but work on it didn't start until after World War I on January 28, 1920. Despite several delays, the 2-mile underground portion of the subway was completed in 1923. Proposals came and went in the 30s, but none were implemented. A 1948 study finally ended the Cincinnati subway for good, though efforts to do something with the tunnels have been constantly ongoing for more than half a century. Ideas have included a bomb shelter, a shopping and nightlife district, a massive wine cellar, and more rapid transit. The latest proposal is for another subway. I-75 was built, destroying a large segment of the underground passage, but one of the city's best kept secrets is the fact that sections of the original subway still remain, including all 4 of the stations put in during initial construction. Today, all these passages are sealed off, and they are used by Cincinnati Waterworks only. Most of the entrances have been gated or concreted over. Now, access is both illegal and extremely difficult, and no people, this is not a challenge. Number 7. Chippewa Lake Park. Tucked away in the Medina County, there's a rusted, lost, forgotten Ferris wheel. What was once Chippewa Lake Park is now just a few piles of amusement park ruins and the lone Ferris wheel. From 1878 to 1978, the amusement park was a popular, thriving destination for family entertainment. It closed after the final owner, Continental Business Enterprises, closed it due to lack of attendance. After the park's closure, its rise and structures were left largely untouched and unmaintained for over 40 years. Today, remnants of it creepily stand abandoned, rusted, and long forgotten. And fun fact, in 2008, a cast and crew from Los Angeles filmed the horror film Closed for the Season there. Number 6. Kerr's Run Colored School. This schoolhouse for Black American children is one of the oldest remaining in southeastern Ohio. Currently, it's boarded up and overgrown with brush. The school educated children from the 1st to 8th grade, including James Edwin Campbell and James McHenry Jones, 1st and 3rd presidents of what is now West Virginia State University. The school remained in operation from the late 1880s through the early 1900s, and in 2007, a historical marker was added to the school's site. The sign briefly documents the history and legacy of the school. Now, the school is right beside an old church, and you can visit outside, but you shouldn't try to enter either building as they are in unsafe condition. Number 5. Franklin Castle. Rumors about the eerie castle began to surface after multiple deaths occurred in the Tideman family while living in the mansion. Hans, the father, allegedly tore down another house on the property where 4 of his children had died. His first wife, Louisa, died inside Franklin Castle in the 1890s, and he would eventually bury 3 more of his children and his mother. Since then, the location has been the site of mysterious hauntings. A family with 6 children called the Romanos had moved into the house, and on the day they moved in, 2 of their children said they'd encountered a crying girl in white on the 3rd floor. But when Miss Romano investigated, no one was there. Soon, the family started hearing haunting organ music and heavy footsteps. 2 of the older Romano children woke up one night to find something yanking blankets off their bed, and Miss Romano once awoke to find herself screaming on her bedroom floor with an unseen presence screaming beside her. A priest advised the Romanos to move out, and in 1974 they did, but the hauntings didn't stop when they left. From there, the house was sold again and again and again. Each new occupant reported strange occurrences like passing through odd vapors, hearing a child crying, or seeing a woman in black standing in the window. Unfortunately, this house is privately owned, so you cannot go and explore all the spookiness, but there is a lot of rich history here. Number 4. Warner and Swayze Observatory. The Taylor Road Observatory was gifted to the Case School of Applied Science in 1919 by the Warner and Swayze Telescope Company. The original building was a domed tower construction with a powerful telescope that took advantage of the relatively undeveloped Cleveland sky that was at the time much more free of light pollution. The site continued to develop in the decades, growing with more buildings and facilities, but unfortunately by 1950, the growth of the nearby city was shining too much ambient light into the night sky, and the telescope had to be moved to a new location in Arizona. The Taylor Road facility continued to conduct astronomical research in the 1970s, but the site was completely abandoned in 1982. Vines and decay accumulated on the walls as time and neglect took their toll on the observatory. However, it was finally repurchased in 2005 by real estate mogul Nair Al-Mahid, who planned on returning the site into a luxury home. Unfortunately, his renovation didn't happen because in 2007 he was convicted of fraud and sent directly to jail. Today, the observatory continues to stand off Taylor Road, and it's best not to trespass and enter the building though because the area is unsafe. Number 3. The Peters Cartridge Company. The Peters Cartridge Company was once an integral part of the local munitions production industry, but now the factory is abandoned. Built in the 1860s, the large building complex was established to support the Peters Cartridge Company. The factory began producing shot and cannonballs for the Union Army during the Civil War, and then continued to produce American munitions into the 1950s. The factory had a lot of accidents though. In 1890, several train cars loaded with gunpowder collided and exploded, ending the lives of 20 factory workers. There were a number of fires and machinery accidents as well, leaving employees maimed and physically disabled. Before the factory finally closed, the site was repurposed to press vinyl for Columbia Records, but eventually nothing was made of the tall brick buildings. As the factory buildings are extremely decayed, local police supervised the Peters Cartridge Company closely. Urban exploration is not advised as floorboards are rotten and elevator shafts are empty in the buildings. Number 2. Helltown. Yep, you heard that right. Why anyone would want to go to Helltown with a name like that, I have no clue. Founded in 1806, Boston Village, aka Helltown's claim to fame was that it was standing as the oldest village in Summit County. Boston's relatively uneventful life took for a turn for the worst in 1974 when the National Park Service decided that Boston Township would be the new home for a new national park and began buying the properties of its longtime residents. The empty homes were boarded up and adorned with US no trespassing signs. But then the government quickly fell behind on its plan to create the park, and the village sat neglected. The hellish aura of the area only continued to grow when rangers visiting the site became ill and covered in rashes. It was soon discovered the dump was highly polluted with toxic chemicals improperly disposed of. Also in the village there is a church which is said to have been built by Satanists, complete with upside down crosses. There's an abandoned bus that is said to be host to a lingering ghost, and maybe the most outlandish of all, there is talk of mutants who were created by the chemical spill, including a monstrous snake known as the Peninsula Python. And coming in at number 1, Lima Tuberculosis Hospital. The Lima Tuberculosis Hospital was a tuberculosis sanatorium built in 1911 to deal with the leading causes of death in the United States in the early 20th century. Opening in 1911, it held 24 beds originally and was remodeled in 1927 to hold 158 beds. beds. The capacity changed to 138 patients after an additional remodel occurred in 1957. The hospital was then renamed Ottawa Valley Tuberculosis Hospital in 1960, and by 1970 it was nearly empty. In 1972, the use of the second floor was shuttered and the entire hospital closed its doors in 1973. While the hospital was winding down operation on January 10, 1972, it was agreed that the hospital would be transferred to the Allen County Board of Commissioners. Because of its relatively remote location and the use of hard-to-clean-up substances such as asbestos in the construction of the original 1911 building, the City of Lima did not prioritize demolition of the building. It's rumored to be haunted as well, and around Halloween of 2020, a large surge of trespassing at the site occurred, which led to an increased police presence and crackdown on trespassers. So don't even think of trying to visit.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Snake Island. Well, this island already sounds awful. What's going on here? Snake Island is located 95 miles off the coast of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Is that just a name of an island, or do a bunch of snakes live here? Well, sorry to tell you, both. What happened originally was thousands of years ago, the part of the land that once connected the island to mainland disappeared. The ocean rose up before any of these snakes had time to pack their snake bags, and they were stuck on this island forever. These snakes were stuck on the island decade after decade, so now these stuck snakes are just gonna, mate and have more snakes. Now the island's full of snakes. The number of snakes is going up. Higher and higher, it's never stopping. One of the deadliest snakes in the world, the golden lancehead viper, yeah, there's over 4,000 of them on this island. It's horrible. Back from 1902 to the early 1920s, a few brave souls lived there and operated the lighthouse. But according to some local myths, the last lighthouse keeper was swarmed by snakes after he left a window open. Worst thing I've ever heard. Let's move on. Number 9, Surtsey Island. While some islands ban humans, others ban humans and seeds. Yeah, no seeds allowed on Surtsey Island. Leave the work snackies behind, my friend. Surtsey Island is an important one on our list here today, as this island was born in 1963. We got a brand new baby island. This new island emerged from the sea 20 miles off the coast of Iceland, and it took around 4 years for Mother Nature to complete this little passion project. An undersea volcano formed this island over the course of 4 years. Just slowly, just making a new island. That's a long, hot process, so now what? What do you do with a brand new island? Sandals Resort? Disney parks? No and nope. Nobody is allowed on this island. The whole idea of Surtsey Island, which I love, is that scientists are trying to study how ecosystems can form themselves without the involvement of us humans. Scientists around the world have all gathered around to do nothing about this island. They're just gonna watch. Only a select few can enter this island, and right before they clock in, they're checked head to toe to make sure they don't have any seeds. 0 seeds. Why? Oh, because scientists found a tomato growing and they were scratching their heads. Where did this come from? How, out of nowhere, how could it be? They were stumped until they found out somebody went number 2 in that same spot long before. Yeah, welcome to Surtsey Island. Hold it. Better not take a shit here or you're fired, buddy. Number 8, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe, one of the most forbidden islands on the world. We're talking about it, let's do it. Located in the Bay of Bengal, North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers away from India, and while most islands are shrinking, this one is actually growing. It grew back in 2004 phenomenally. Back in 2004, the island lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so the west and south sides gained an extra kilometer. The inhabitants on North Sentinel Island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world. You've probably heard about them or seen the thumbnail at some point. They have apparently been around for thousands of years, but there's no sign of agriculture or even fire. Yet still, this tribe has somehow continued to thrive. If we try and get close, they will attack us. After the 2004 tsunami, the Indian Coast Guard flew over to check on the island, make sure everyone's okay, but once they flew too close, the tribe attacked with arrows. So they could not land, obviously, but what if you arrived by boat? What would happen? Well, also bad. Back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who was on it. The Sentinelese have lived here for around 60,000 years, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Number 7, Niue Island. Located in Hawaii, Niue Island is quite small, and its population as well is pretty minimal, but why? Where is everyone? This is a beautiful island. Why wouldn't you want to live here? Why do only 170 people live on arguably one of the most beautiful islands in the world? Niue Island has also been referred to as the Forbidden Island, hence why we're including it on our list here today. It was bought back in 1864 by Elizabeth Sinclair, and it's been privately owned since then. So no one knows what's going on, hence the small population. The thing is though, in 1952, the polio epidemic hit the islands and a ban was then put in place permanently. You couldn't leave or enter the island. That's it. locked down to the extreme. Like an island locked down, that'd be so scary. Nobody got sick, but now if you want to enter the island, you need to gain special access, which is a lot harder than it may seem. Absolutely no tourists or outsiders allowed. Period. It was sold by Hawaii's king Kamehameha back in 1863 to the Robinson family, but as of 1915, no outsiders again are still allowed in. Some island cult behavior is going on here, I don't know. Whoever lives here does so without plumbing, telephone lines, or Netflix. Impressive. Even today, the island is of course off bounds. The Coast Guard is always patrolling the island too as well. What do you think lies on Niue Island? Top secret government stuff? Probably. Number 6, Heard Island. Have you heard about this island? Heard Island? No? Well, listen up. Right in the middle of Antarctica and Australia, there is this island, Heard Island. The Australian government has made it illegal for anybody to visit it, so if you have some free time and a kayak and some suntan lotion, don't even think about it. Go the other way. You won't make it. So why is this island forbidden? Is this one full of deadly snakes? Maybe, honestly. The myth here surrounding Heard Island is that there's animals we don't even know exist living here. We got some secret hybrid animals. This sounds a lot like Jurassic Park so far. The island itself is quite unique geographically. See, Heard Island is home to 2 volcanoes as well as the tallest mountain in Australia. So there's plenty of space for hybrid animals to hide and be scary. I love the idea of animals getting their own island, honestly. We have enough, I'd say. Time to give 1 or 2 back. Except for Snake Island. That one, we don't want that one. You can keep that one for sure. Number 5, North Brother Island. Located right between Rikers Island and the Bronx, quietly tucked away on the East River, North Brother Island was once home to a hospital back in the 19th century. You may be thinking, a hospital on an island? How inconvenient is this? What's going on? Riverside Hospital was available for patients suffering from yellow fever, smallpox, or tuberculosis. So it was a quarantine zone, essentially. The hospital has since been abandoned. It's now sitting there literally falling to pieces. And the island has been quite active, oddly. A body was found near the island recently. A steamship called the General Slocum crashed on the island. There's also a haunted lighthouse on this island. And they even have what's referred to as Coffin Corner on this island. Yeah, Coffin Corner. I'm all set. I'd rather explore the Bronx than explore this island, honestly. Number 4, Robins Island. Okay, we have a forbidden island and it's not cursed. We have a nice one, dare I say. Here we go. The privately owned Robinson Island is massive and beautiful. It's not made of lava or snakes, it's just sand and trees. Just a good time. And best of all, no humans at all. The 435-acre island sits off the coast of New Suffolk, New York. Many names have come and go when it comes to island ownership here, but as of right now, it's forbidden and it's a nature preserve. I'm okay with that. We can stay away from that one. The owner now is a man named Louis Bacon. He has poured time and money into building the sanctuary, and he fears that if anybody else gets involved, the whole thing will just fail. Honestly, considering our number 1 spot, he's got a point. Aside from that side quest that Mr. Bacon's pulling off, Robins Island is also home to the largest population of turtles in the state. So don't worry, he's not completely alone. He's got a bunch of turtles. Number 3, Diego Garcia Island. An island with an airport. Okay, there's gotta be something good here, right? Located in the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia is perhaps one of the most bizarre on this list. Definitely interesting. The island was once a part of the United Kingdom, but in order to settle up a debt in the millions, the UK had to hand it over to the United States. Gee, I wonder what they did with it. Is it a turtle sanctuary? Is it a Forbidden Seed Island Part 2 perhaps? What's the game plan here? What are we doing? Well, today Diego Garcia is a top secret military base. Hence the airport. Although it's forbidden to enter, there's over 600 buildings resting on this island, as well as thousands of military personnel, but again, nobody knows what the island is really hiding, or what it's being used for. Maybe this is where they're keeping the Winter Soldier. Could be. He could punch through anyone. You punch 6,000 people easily. Number 2, Poveglia Island. The small island of Poveglia has taken many lives. When the bubonic plague arrived in 1348, the island then became a quarantine colony, just like our one earlier. So if you had symptoms, you were sent to this island to... yeah, it was a sad reality, not a lot of solutions back then. Again, in 1630, the Black Death crept in, and once again the center of this island became a mass graveyard. All bad so far. The soil, they say, is 50% human remains at this point. So if you're looking to plant some haunted sunflowers, there you go. There's your soil, weirdo. Today the island is abandoned, rightfully so. It's closed off to both tourists and locals. Hey, now that things are opening up again, what do you say we head to Poveglia Island? Check out some bubonic plague history. No? We're good? All right, cool. We'll go to Niagara Falls. If its dark history doesn't scare you away, the ghost stories surrounding the island might. In the early 20th century, mentally ill patients were sent to this island, but the doctor that was responsible for curing them for all these treatments, he would actually try these bizarre, insane methods, cruel methods, really. And the doctor himself ended up going mad, and he ended up jumping to his death from the bell tower. The bell tower no longer stands, but the soil is still 50% remains, so either way, ghosts or history, that's a no from me. I would rather go to Number 1, Garbage Island. We must finish with this one, the largest island of them all, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Smells good. Smells like the ocean and all the garbage we've thrown into it. It's located in the North Pacific subtropical gyre. There's basically 4 of these large systems just swirling ocean currents, and some of them are chock full of garbage. Pretty disturbing, right? I've heard of the garbage patch before, but I had no idea how large it really was. This trash island is 3 times the size of France, and if that's not big enough for you, it's twice the size of Texas. Someone's like, oh, now I get it. This island is man-made, obviously, and it continues to grow. But it's not all grim, however, for our number 1 spot. There is a team working on reducing that size. The environmental nonprofit Ocean Cleanup has removed around 65,000 pounds of trash. So maybe next time you see this, there'll be only 9 islands. We're hoping.
Coming up in our number 10 spot, we of course have Chernobyl. Chernobyl is a place in Kyiv, Ukraine that is most known for its accidental power plant explosion that polluted the whole city of Pripyat with radiation in 1986. Apparently Chernobyl is one of the most impressive places for urban exploration, even though it is not encouraged. There is mixed opinion as to whether the radiation level is fully safe there, as people in the towns near it have seen a life expectancy decrease and have experienced other health concerns that could be pointed to the radiation. The complete cleanup isn't projected to be finished until 2065. I will be 75. So personally, I wouldn't recommend it, but go at your own risk. Apparently exploring the abandoned town of Pripyat and walking through the Chernobyl exclusive zone really gives you the feeling of stepping into a post-apocalyptic world. I'm truly a massive Hunger Games fan, so this would be rather tempting to me. If you're enjoying this video so far, please go ahead and smash that like button, as it really helps us out. In our number 9 spot, we have Bulgaria's Poveglia. Okay, honestly, if I felt so inclined to be adventurous and possibly risk being arrested, don't know if I ever would feel that way, but say I was going through a quarter-life crisis and wanted to do something crazy, I would definitely visit the Poveglia. This place looks like a spaceship. It probs is, and they fooled the country into thinking that it was a place for the Communist Party when it was active. The people of Bulgaria literally call it the flying saucer, so I think all signs point to it clearly being from an alien planet. In 1868, it was the place of the final battle between Bulgarian rebels and forces of the Ottoman Empire. Inside, it is completely destroyed, but if you're able to imagine what it could have been like before it was destroyed, then you could probably see that it truly does check out as a spaceship. In our number 8 spot, we have the Bangar Fort. The Bangar Fort is a 16th century fort built in the Rajasthan in India. Apparently, this place is not banned to visitors during the day, however, it is strictly forbidden at night. Why is it forbidden? Well, because it is believed to be the most haunted place in India. It has so many legends surrounding it, tales of ghosts and curses, and there's even one around trespassers at night. It is said that if you wander inside at nighttime, you don't ever leave. It's true. That's a real legend. The ghosts probably eat your soul. No big. But the locals believe it, as many have gone in and then have fully disappeared afterwards. Well, that's so terrifying, but man, we've got to get a ghost hunter or someone to at least go near it at night and see if they pick up on anything. That would honestly be a really fun video to watch. In our number 7 spot, we have Heard and MacDonald Island. This is a closed island, but do people still go urban exploring there regardless? Yes. It is not recommended though, because this island is so remote that it would take a 2-week minimum sail in order to get to the closest landmass. It's an Australian territory island, but it is located between Antarctica and Madagascar. On the island, you will find plenty of cold climate animals, including penguins, seals, and marine birds. It's also not recommended for exploring because of the huge lava flow coming from the island's volcano, and also its, poor weather conditions. Unless you have some sort of fantasy to be near a volcano that could possibly erupt one day soon, I think it's probs best to stay away from this island. In our number 6 spot, we have the island of Snakes. Yeah, you heard that right. There is an island in Brazil that is an island filled with snakes. Ooh. Don't know why no one has capitalized on this movie concept yet. The island is called Ilha da Queimada Grande. Whew,
Melissa. Can't believe I got that one. Very hard to pronounce. This is honestly not a place you want to try to go urban exploring. You could seriously get hurt. The only people allowed on the island are researchers and trained snake experts, and even they have to have doctors with them when they go, a rule set forth by the Brazilian government. These are not just your regular garden snakes. Nope. They are some of the world's deadliest, with venom that can melt your flesh. Yeah, that's right. Lovely. It's definitely best that you stay away. In our number 5 spot, we have Poveglia Brana. The Poveglia Brana is a very famous Czech Republic arch. It was available to the public until 1982, when it became forbidden for anyone to visit. Why? Well, because all of the visitors that were coming to see it were causing a bit of wear, essentially, and it was increasing the likelihood of the structure collapsing over time. So to reduce the likelihood, tourists were cut off. Of course, they can still view it, they just can't go on it. It's not guaranteed that it won't eventually collapse, but the government hopes that it will at least give us more time with this beautiful structure. Well, that's a good reason to not go urban exploring here. Let's keep this arch standing as long as possible. In our number 4 spot, we have the tomb of Shenxi Huang. I mean, the pictures of this site, they're unreal. But unfortunately, this place is off limits to everyone. Yes, all of you urban explorers out there, don't even bother. It is forbidden by the Chinese government as they are trying to preserve their cultural heritage and pay respect to the man buried there. Also, apparently there's nothing we can do technology-wise to prevent the tomb's destruction if it's excavated right now. So that's another reason to limit the amount of visitors until that happens. It makes sense, although quite sad, as this place looks epic. There is a reproduction of Shenxi Huang's army, known as the Terracotta Army, made of clay. Intensely amazing. This place was a massive discovery that was only found in 1974. Hopefully it will be open to the public in my lifetime. We hope. In our number 3 spot, we have the Global Seed Vault. In Norway, there is a place that is known as the Global Seed Vault. Its nickname is the Doomsday Vault. This is because it is a place that was built to store 100 million seeds from all over the world to restore the plant kingdom in case something horrible happens to the planet, such as, explosions, earthquakes, etc. The vault was created in 2008 and was made to store the seeds for 200 years. It's definitely something I would want to see up close, as it's pretty cool that this is one place where politics seem to not exist and the countries of the world have come together for this cause. Even North Korea. Of course, going inside is forbidden, and honestly, I wouldn't want to anyways, to make sure the seeds are safe. I wonder if they have stored some soil too, as I have definitely heard that our soil is becoming more and more contaminated, and we might need a less contaminated soil in the future. So hopefully they did. In our number 2 spot, we have Poveglia. The Poveglia is a small island that is located between Venice and Lido, and it is strictly forbidden to everyone, but perhaps for a very, very good reason, as it certainly has a bloody past. It used to be a plague quarantine station that has had over 160,000 infected people, many who ended up passing away on the island. It is said that about 50% of the island's soil is really just the remains of all the humans that passed away there. Yikes. I'm surprised that this too hasn't been made into a movie yet. Many moons after the plague, the island was then turned into a mental hospital before being shut down completely. Definitely a place you may not want to go exploring anyway. In our number 1 spot, we have the Chichén Itzá. Okay, I know this one is not banned from the world to see. In fact, I have seen it in person myself, and it's incredible. A magical place that I would recommend to everyone. However, it is forbidden to climb. Before 2006, people used to climb the pyramid, but after a fatal accident, the government decided to ban all tourists from climbing up it. Honestly, this is perhaps a good thing because it's quite steep, and I don't know, I wouldn't have the balls myself to climb it anyways. Although I am known to be a little bit of a physical wimp. Mentally, I'm as strong as David Goggins. Okay, no one's as strong as him.
Starting off this countdown, we have Zone Rogue. Zone Rogue, sometimes called the Red Zone or Zone Rouge, is an area in northeastern France that got destroyed during World War I. After the war, the land was declared 100% damaged with devastating effects on the agriculture. It was said to be impossible to clean, and human life there was said to be impossible. So the French government prohibited anyone from going there. In fact, this area is littered with human and animal remains and millions of unexploded weapons. So it's literally dangerous to go there. All you need to do is be traveling there and you set off an explosive. That would not end well. In our 9th spot, we have room 39. Room 39 is a top secret room located in North Korea. The whole location is heavily guarded. They don't want anyone getting into this room. In fact, it's said to be one of the most secret places in North Korea, a place that's already so secretive. It was created in the late 1970s. Room 39 is the meeting place for a top secret North Korean party organization. They apparently get up to a number of illegal activities in that room, like counterfeiting, selling and producing drugs, and selling weapons. Apparently, they bring in $500 million to $1 billion per year through these illegal activities. So yeah, no wonder they don't want outsiders inside of this room. Should anyone try to get in? Well, I'm sure you can imagine what would happen. In our 8th spot today, we have Vale do Javari. Located in Brazil in the Amazon, this area is one of the largest indigenous territories in the world. It's home to a number of indigenous tribes. There are said to be 2,000 individuals belonging to at least 14 tribes living there. In fact, they remained uncontacted with until several years ago. But the Brazilian government has banned anyone from going there. It's illegal if you do so. This is because they want to protect the people living there. Any contact with the outside world could be dangerous to these individuals. We could transmit diseases and wipe them out. So in an effort to protect the tribes, it's illegal to visit the area. In our 7th spot, we have the Korean Demilitarized Zone. This is the area that marks the separation between South and North Korea. The only people that reside there are high-ranking officials. It's illegal for anyone else to visit the site. In fact, it's one of the most militarized zones in the world, so why would anyone even want to go there? In fact, they have enough weapons to bombard Seoul with over 10,000 rounds every minute. Now, the North Korean side primarily serves to stop an invasion of North Korea from the south. Up until 1972, over 7,000 Korean soldiers infiltrated North Korea. More than half of them lost their lives. In our 6th spot today, we have Metro 2. Located in Moscow, Russia, there is a secret underground metro system operated by the Russian Ministry of Defense. It's said that this system connects the Moscow Kremlin with the Federal Security Service headquarters. The only problem is, no one knows where it is. That's how secret it is. People know it exists, but they haven't been able to find where it is or how to get in. Either way, you're banned from doing so anyways. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Varosha, Cyprus. Once upon a time in the early 70s, Varosha was a popular tourist attraction. In fact, it was one of the most popular ones in the world. That was until 1974 when Turkey invaded. As a result, all the residents had to flee or else they were killed. They were forcibly removed from their homes and were never allowed to come back. The Turkish military then took control of the whole area, and no one is allowed to enter. In fact, the whole area is now fenced off and under constant supervision. Not only that, but the army patrols have orders to shoot on sight. So people don't even want to take a chance by going even remotely close to there. In our 4th spot, we have Pine Gap. Located deep in the Australian outback is Pine Gap, a top secret military base. In fact, this base has been named Australia's Area 51. That's how mysterious it is there. This base is operated by the Australian government and by the CIA and the NSA. In 2013, it was revealed that the NSA uses this facility to collect internet and telephone records, when originally it was said that this place was just a space research center. Clearly, that was just one big lie. So this place is just a big place for intelligence activities and military operations. What's scary is that it's rumored that this base is home to one of the most terrifying surveillance systems out there, the Echelon. This is the code name given to a very secretive and intense surveillance program. So yeah, anyone caught trespassing, you're in huge trouble. In our 3rd spot, we have Morgan Island. This is another island completely off limits, and that's because it's filled with monkeys. Now you might be thinking, oh, I love monkeys, they're so cute. No, okay? These monkeys are said to be infected by the herpes B virus. But it wasn't always like this. What happened was that the monkeys were originally from Puerto Rico, but then there was a viral outbreak among locals because the monkeys became overpopulated. So they tried to fix this problem by moving the monkeys to Morgan Island. In 1979, over 1,400 animals were relocated to Morgan Island. As a result, the island is off limits for your safety and the safety of the monkeys. Coming in at number 2, we have Mount Weather, aka one of America's best kept secrets. No, I didn't just make that up, that's actually what it's called. This is a secret facility located in Virginia. In fact, for years people were wondering if Mount Weather was actually real. It was just kind of rumored to be a thing. But alas, it is real. Mount Weather is an emergency operations center. They have an underground bunker there, so in case of emergency, they can keep all the government officials there in that bunker. They even have their own police department, fire department, and laws for this place. So we all know if there's an apocalypse, that's where the government will be hiding out. And of course, it's surrounded by armed guards, fences, and razor wires. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Russia's nuclear missile facility. In the Ural Mountains in Russia, there's a top secret town that no one is allowed to visit. This is because this is the place that Russia does their nuclear missile testing. As a result, no one is allowed to go in or even near the vicinity. Again, why would you even want to go anyways? That place is probably incredibly radioactive. It's also believed that around the area, the Russians have a secret bunker complex for the government and or the Russian armed forces.
Coming in at number 10, the elite Disney 33 Club in Anaheim, California. Disney might be open to the public, but this area of Disney is actually off limits and reserved only for the elite of the elite. In Disneyland, located in Anaheim, California, there is an area that was built by Walt Disney, but he unfortunately never got the chance to enjoy it due to his death before construction was finished. Now, the club was originally created as a place for him to entertain important guests. Now this area is still for important guests as the entry is invite only, on top of a $100,000 fee and $30,000 in annual dues. For those of you who have been to Disneyland, which I have not by the way, you probably have walked through New Orleans Square, which is a replica of Louisiana's iconic city. Somewhere there though, you'll find Club 33, a members only destination. Now the invite only club has a wait list and I doubt that I'll ever get to go there, but it sounds really cool. Number 9. The Hollywood sign, Los Angeles, California. I think you all know what I'm talking about when I bring up the Hollywood sign. Now you might be confused, it's a huge tourist attraction. Yes, it is, but there are areas around the sign that are prohibited. The closest you can get to the sign is behind and above the sign where you can enjoy the fabulous view of the city. The sign is on rough, steep terrain and there are barriers to prevent unauthorized access. In the year 2000, the Los Angeles Police Department installed a security system featuring motion detection and closed-circuited cameras. Any movement in the marked restricted areas triggers an alarm that notifies the police, therefore you cannot go and touch the sign. Access to other areas are restricted and the area is heavily surveilled as it's monitored 24/7 as mentioned before by the Los Angeles Police and Fire Departments and park rangers. Although some people have gone through security to vandalize the sign, I mean, does anyone remember Hollyweed on January 1st, 2017? Nope, just me? Okay. Well, it remains mostly prohibited. Number 8. Hart Island, Bronx, New York. Hart Island is located in the Bronx, New York and is a 1-mile long strip of land in the Long Island Sound that has served many functions over centuries. The island's first public use was as a training ground for the United States colored troops in 1864. Since then, Hart Island has been the location of a Union Civil War prison camp, a psychiatric institution, a tuberculosis sanatorium, a potter's field with mass burials, a homeless shelter, a boys reformatory, a jail, a drug rehabilitation center, and a cemetery. You can get to the island, but it is very difficult. Hart Island is only open one weekend each month for families to visit grave sites. Other members of the public must book an appointment months in advance, but it can even be rejected. Coming in at number 7 is New York Stock Exchange, New York City, New York. Thanks to movies including The Wolf of Wall Street and The Big Short, many of us has become fascinated by what goes on inside the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, I know I am. It's easily the most important landmark on Wall Street since the stock exchange practically created the financial district by marketing the neighborhood as an area of business. The main building was built in 1903 and it impressed everybody. This high-profile building was once open to visitors at one point, but it has been closed off to visitors since the September 11th attacks. The increased security now makes it impossible to get too close, but you can soak up all its glory from the outside. It sucks that you can't go inside anymore, but it's a valid reason and safety is important. Number 6. Robbins Island, Suffolk County, New York. Located just off Long Island, this private island is not only extremely valuable as it's impossible to access. The 435-acre teardrop of land belongs to billionaire businessman Louis Bacon and is thought to be worth around $500 million. He purchased it in 1993 at a bankruptcy court auction for only $11 million. He has made significant investments in restoring the neglected island, going so far as to import full-grown oak trees to replace the ones harvested for lumber years earlier. Some non-native grasses were removed from the island and replaced, and hunters reduced the overgrown deer population. The island has the healthiest turtle population in the state, which includes the eastern mud turtle. Louis has spent years rebuilding the ecosystem, and he believes allowing others on the island will lead to its destruction, so no one can visit. Number 5. The Knickerbocker Club, New York City, New York. If you happen to be among the world's elite, you might just be lucky enough to be invited inside this stunning Georgian mansion. If not, then this is as close as you'll get to the Knickerbocker Club or the Knick. Now, what is it? It's considered one of America's most exclusive societies. It was founded in 1871 by 18 former members of the Union Club who did not like the Union's club expansion of the membership. Among the Knickerbocker Club founders were such prestigious New Yorkers as Alexander Hamilton and John Jacob Astor. This club is considered one of the most aristocratic gentlemen's clubs in the world, and it only has one rule concerning giving out information about the club, and that is to never give any information out about the club ever. The men-only club is secretive, it doesn't even have a website. Their single Yelp review says, "Truly one of the finest private men's clubs in America. We had a lovely dinner with friends there, it is a reciprocal with the club I belong to. Highly recommend if you get an invitation." Now, the fact that members are forbidden to discussing the going-ons with anyone is interesting, but it seems like someone blabbed though, because if it truly was a secret, we wouldn't know about it, now would we? Anyway, it had many notable members, including Franklin D. Roosevelt and financier J.P. Morgan. Number 4. Rikers Island, New York City, New York. Rikers Island is a 413-acre island in the East River between Queens and the Bronx that contains New York City's main jail complex. It's been there since 1932 and has gained a reputation for brutality and mistreatment. Rikers Island has a reputation for violence, both abuse and neglect of inmates, attracting increased press and judicial scrutiny that has resulted in numerous rulings against the New York City government and numerous by inmates on uniformed and civilian staff, often resulting in serious injuries. In May 2013, Rikers Island ranked as one of the 10 worst correctional facilities in the United States. It's also one of the world's largest correctional institutions and mental institutions that's operated by the New York City Department of Correction, which has a budget of $860 million a year. It has a staff of 9,000 officers and 1,500 civilians who manage 100,000 admissions per year. An average daily population is around 10,000 inmates. The likes of David Berkowitz, the serial killer known as Son of Sam, and Sex Pistol Sid Vicious were incarcerated on Rikers, and today it remains one of America's most notorious prisons. Number 3. Mount Weather, Bluemont, Virginia. If the world is ending, I want to go here. Mount Weather is a facility located in Bluemont, Virginia that is controlled by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This facility is used to support emergency management operations and is located on a 434-acre site and is run by 240 employees. Mount Weather Emergency's Operations Center has important communication links with the White House and reportedly includes an underground bunker with its own hospital, crematorium, and emergency power plant. Today, Mount Weather is home to 6 major disaster operation facilities and remains off limits to civilians. It's considered the safest spot in the world. In the event of a nuclear war or zombie apocalypse, US government officials will be gathered and sent there. It was built during the Cold War, and this facility is designed to protect people and national treasures from an event of global destruction. Number 2. ADX Florence, Florence, Colorado. Could ADX Florence be America's most secure building? I think so. ADX Florence is an American federal prison in Fremont County near Florence, Colorado. It is operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, a division of the United States Department of Justice. It opened in 1994 and is classed as a supermax or control unit prison, referring to its extremely high levels of security, as it has a more controlled level of custody than maximum security prison. ADX Florence was commissioned when the Federal Bureau of Prisons needed a unit designed specifically for the secure housing of those prisoners more capable of extreme violence towards staff or other inmates. As of August 2022, there are a total of 341 inmates housed. They are confined 23 hours per day in single cells with facilities of poured reinforced concrete to deter self-harm, and they are under 24-hour supervision, which is carried out intensively with high staff-inmate ratios. Now, during their hour outside the cell, which can occur at any time, day or night, they are kept under restraint, handcuffed, shackled, or both. The hour outside the cell is for exercise and a phone call if they have earned the privilege. Their diet is restricted due to ensure that the food cannot be used to harm themselves or create unhygienic conditions in their cell. Some cells even have showers, which further reduces the amount of handling of inmates that correctional officers have to perform. In fact, this is such a secure facility that very few images of it exist. And coming in at number 1, Morgan Island, also known as Monkey Island, is located in Beaufort County, South Carolina. Historically, the island has been uninhabited due to its location and distance from the mainland. But in 1979, it was established as a home for a colony of free-ranging rhesus monkeys, hence the name Monkey Island. Originally, the monkey colony now located on Morgan Island was located at the Caribbean Primate Research Center in La Parguera, Puerto Rico. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there were incidents of the free-ranging monkeys escaping, carrying viral herpes B infections, which led to outbreaks in the local population. Puerto Rico was alarmed by this, and South Carolina stepped in to offer an inhabited island for research. In 1979 and 1980, over 1,400 animals were relocated to Morgan Island. The island is owned by the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, and the monkeys are owned by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The monkeys are used for public health research by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Now, the risk they carry with having diseases is the reasons why it isn't safe for any human to come in contact with them. It's said that there are more than 3,500 monkeys and that it's such a safety issue that they are fed through an automated machine. Some humans have entered the island only if necessary, and after their visit to the island, they are quarantined to prevent spread of any diseases.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have Mezgor. This is a location in Russia that finds its home in the Ural Mountains. This little town is top secret and is completely forbidden to any kind of visitor. This is said to be because the town is apparently home to Russia's nuclear missiles, and the rules are so strict that people aren't even allowed near the town or in its vicinity. There are also rumors that suggest this town contains Mount Yamantau, and that inside this mountain there is the Russian government's extensive bunker, making this just another reason why this town is completely cut off to anyone who isn't a very high-ranking official. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Lascaux Cave. This cave is located in France, and it got itself the title of being a UNESCO World Heritage Site after its discovery in 1940 due to the incredible prehistoric paintings that can be seen on the walls. Of course, this became a popular tourist destination, and people were jumping at the chance to see these works of art completed by the early humans, but as it turns out, breathing is not good for the art. The carbon monoxide that visitors were expelling was beginning to cause damage to these cave paintings, and of course, once they're gone, there's nothing we can do to get them back. This led to the site being closed to the public in 1963. Now, the only people allowed in are researchers and preservationists who work to make sure the art stays for as long as possible. In our number 8 spot today, we have Fort Knox. The Fort Knox vaults are home to most of the US gold reserves, and it's one of the most heavily guarded places on the entire planet. It's so heavily guarded, in fact, that there isn't one single person who can make it into the vault. This is because there are several combinations that need to be used, and no one knows all of them. There are various members of the staff who know just one of the necessary combinations, which means that without the help of their colleagues, and quite a few of them, there wouldn't be any way for them to gain access. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Vatican Secret Archives. This area is located within the Vatican, and it contains 53 miles of shelves that contain documents relating to the Catholic Church, some dating as far back as the 8th century. These archives contain things like a letter from Mary Queen of Scots when she addressed Pope Sixtus V, where she begged him to help save her from her fate. Some other documents in the archives include ones that detail and relate to the excommunication of Martin Luther. In 1881, these archives were opened only to researchers, but it's not exactly an easy task to get a pass. Anyone who applies and gains one will only have it for 3 months, however, and despite the massive size of the archives, no more than 60 scholars are allowed in at one time. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Svalbard Seed Vault. Deep within a mountain that sits in between Norway and the North Pole sits this vault that is more than 320 feet inside the mountain. This vault holds a massive collection of seeds. Like, we're talking about 890,000 different preserved seed samples from nearly every country in the world. The vault that holds these seeds is made to withstand both man-made and natural disasters, and the seeds inside are meant to be kept safe, so in the case of some sort of huge disaster, the seeds inside would ensure the continuation of a wide variety of diverse food options. The door to this vault is only opened a few times a year, and just a few people are allowed inside in order to deliver seeds to the shelves. In our number 5 spot today, we have DMZ. Despite what this name says and implies, the Korean Demilitarized Zone is perhaps one of the most militarized places ever. This is the location that marks the separation between North and South Korea, and it was established to serve as a sort of buffer zone between the two countries. There are tons of military facilities in this zone, and only high-ranking officials are allowed in. This is exactly what led to the creation of the Civilian Control Line, which is a line that created an additional buffer zone to the Demilitarized Zone, which is meant to further restrict access to any civilians or unauthorized personnel. In our number 4 spot today, we have Surtsey Island. This island was born in 1963. By that, I mean it emerged from the sea in that year just off of the coast of Iceland after 4 years of being formed by an undersea volcano. A brand new island? What could we possibly do with that? While I'm sure humans could find 1,000,001 ways to ruin it, surprisingly we decided to not do that at all. Instead, this island was protected in order to allow scientists to study how new ecosystems form and what happens when there's no human involvement. This means that those who are permitted to go to the island have some super strict rules to adhere to, and it's not like just anyone is allowed to go. One of these rules is no seeds and no using the facilities on the island. The last rule is because one day when scientists found a tomato growing on the island, they were quite confused as to how. It turns out that somebody had gone number 2 not too long before, and thus a new poop tomato was grown from the ground. So a slice of that for your BLT. In our number 3 spot today, we have Snake Island. This island is located in Brazil and is one of the most dangerous in the entire world, and that is because it is absolutely filled with snakes. It is thought that Snake Island came to be when the snakes got trapped as a result of the rising sea levels, which disconnected this island from the mainland. The reason people aren't allowed to visit is obviously to protect the humans who want to go, but also to protect the snakes that live here, as some of them aren't seen anywhere else in the world, likely because of the lack of human interference. There's a critically endangered species of snake called a golden lancehead, and on this island there are about 4,000 of them, which is critical to the species continuing on. As of now, only a select few researchers and the Brazilian Navy are permitted to go to the island. In our number 2 spot today, we have Zone Rouge. This area, also referred to as the Red Zone, is an area of France that is one of the most restricted on Earth. Located in northeastern France, it is said that this chain of uninhabited areas was completely destroyed after the events of the First World War. The area contains a mass amount of both human and animal remains, along with way too many unexploded weapons that have gone on to contaminate the surrounding water and land. This has led to the French government prohibiting any kind of activity in the areas that includes any sort of agriculture or settlement. I mean, I would not particularly want to risk it with the undetonated explosives, so it completely makes sense as to why this area would be restricted. In our number 1 spot today, we have Pine Gap. This location is in Australia, and it is a heavily guarded and top secret facility. It is said that Pine Gap is actually a joint defense facility between the Australian and the United States governments. It is said that it is operated by both the CIA and NSA, and that it is strictly strictly off limits to anyone not involved or given high security clearance. Apparently, at first this place was said to be a space research center, but now it has become abundantly clear that it is actually used to support the United States in both intelligence as well as military activities. If someone decided to trespass into this top secret area, it would undoubtedly put them in a whole world of trouble.
Starting off this countdown, we have Aksai Chin. This is a region in Asia which is a disputed border between China and India. As a result, some people call it the line of actual control. It separates India-controlled Ladakh from China-controlled Ladakh. Now, this area is only home to military personnel. No outsiders are ever allowed into this region. Only military personnel and high-ranking officials. I don't think anyone has dared to try and go to this area. I mean, why would you? It is said to be quite beautiful with like salt lakes and valleys, but it's also filled with officers and weapons, so... In our 9th spot today, we have the Google data centers. Now, I personally didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently Google has data centers located in 4 continents: North America, South America, Asia, and Europe. These centers store and process all of Google's data. Knowing just how big Google is, this is a huge deal. Photos of the centers show just how intense they are. And of course, these centers are completely off limits to visitors for a number of reasons. First off, we don't need random people wandering in and fooling around with things. Second is to protect Google from any kind of data breach. In our 8th spot today, we have the Queen's bedroom, which is kind of a funny one, not gonna lie. Buckingham Palace is said to have 775 rooms. I don't know anyone that needs that many rooms, but clearly the Queen does. One room that is highly off limits is the Queen's bedroom. Many areas in the palace are actually open for public tours, but never this one. Her bedroom is heavily guarded, but it wasn't always. In 1982, a man named Michael Fagan broke into the Queen's bedroom. In fact, this is said to be one of the greatest security breaches of all times. And Michael did it just so he could win a bet with his friends. Anyways, after that incident, the palace didn't want to take any more chances, so the area is now heavily guarded. In fact, her bedroom is said to be one of the most restricted places on Earth. In our 7th spot today, we have the buffer zone. In 1974, the UN took control of a buffer zone in Cyprus after Turkish troops invaded the area. It created a civil war between the Greek and Turkish residents. So the UN took this buffer zone area to help end the fighting. Now, the areas in the zone are completely abandoned. You got abandoned homes, businesses, stores, even a small airport. It looks like a ghost town, or some say it's a place that will now remain frozen in time. In our 6th spot today, we have the Global Seed Vault. So it seems like our world kind of has a plan if the end of the world does happen. I don't know how reassuring that is, but okay. They still want humanity to survive. So basically, in Norway, on a remote island, there is a 11,000 square foot structure that houses more than 1 million seed samples from places all around the world. Basically, it allows us to preserve crops in case our environment is just completely destroyed. The structure was built to withstand earthquakes, floods, and even nuclear attacks. Now, only the government has access to this place, and they can only go in when they're putting seed samples away. It's considered the final backup of life, so they don't want anyone fooling around there. As a result, it's heavily guarded and off limits. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Mormon Church Vault. Located in Little Cottonwood Canyon outside of Salt Lake City is a vault owned by the Mormon Church. The vault is literally located 600 feet in the Granite Mountain, and it's filled with ancient archives, including family history records. It's said that it holds more than 3.5 billion images on microfilm and digital media. And obviously, they don't want anything to happen to their archives, so there's no public access to the vault. Not only that, but the doors are reinforced so that they're able to withstand a nuclear blast. Moving on to number 4, we have Bangalore Fort, India. This place is said to be the most haunted place in all of India, which is one reason why no one wants to go there. But if you do go there, you're only allowed to go between sunset and sunrise. If you visit any other time, chances are you'll wind up dead, or cursed, or both. So legend goes that there once was a man named Madho Singh. He was given permission to build this fort by the king under one condition. The fort never cast a shadow over his house. He said that if this happened, the city will perish. Now he obeyed his command and made sure that his fort never did. But Singh's successor ignored this, and he built the walls up higher. In the end, it cast a shadow over his house. And that's when the king's curse started. Now that's one legend. There's also another legend about a princess and a practitioner of black magic that cursed the town, and apparently to this day, it is still cursed. As a result, no foreigners are allowed, and like I said, you can never go there before sunrise and after sunset. According to locals, 3 men decided to stay there after sundown, and things went bad. One of the guys fell into a deep well. Now, he was rescued, but on their way to the hospital, all 3 of them got crushed in a road accident and died. In our third spot today, we have the Forbidden Island. Located in Hawaii, there's an island called Niihau, or the Forbidden Island. And its name rings true. No one is allowed on this island. The only people allowed on the island are the descendants of those who lived there before them on the island. It was purchased in the 1860s, and ever since then, it's been home to one family, and one family only. In fact, the island even looks mysterious. You can't really see it unless you're on a specific beach during sunset, and that's when you can kind of see the island's silhouette. In our second spot, we have Ise Grand Shrine. Located in Japan, this is a very important shrine for the Shinto religion. As a result, only high-ranking officials like priests and imperial family members are allowed to go there. It was originally built to honor the goddess of the sun and universe. In fact, it's said that it was constructed without using a single nail. It was constructed around 2,000 years ago, and since the late 7th century, it has been demolished and rebuilt every 20 years. Every time they do this, it costs $500 million. And that's because every detail has to be replicated. It has to look the exact same. Now they do this because it symbolizes the Shinto concepts of death and rebirth. It also helps to keep the building in great shape because wood has a shorter lifespan than other building materials. This way, it'll never rot. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Heard Island. There's a big reason as to why Heard Island is off limits to humans. That's because Heard Island is said to be one of the most dangerous places on Earth. It's home to a 9,000-foot tall volcano, which has been active since at least the early 2000s. Not only does it spew lava, but massive glaciers also like to tumble down and can easily kill anything in its path. The wind speeds there average around 20 miles per hour. It has gotten to 200 kilometers per hour, which is considered Category 3 hurricane force. Not only that, but if you did want to go there, it would take you 2 weeks to get there from a boat from Australia. And then you'd be risking your life doing so with the bad sailing weather. So no one really likes to go there.